Now, before we move on to ERP systems, let me just brief you why it is necessary to link in an organization. In an organization, there are various information systems. Like we have discussed earlier, there are three levels. So we have the TPS, we have the MIS, TPS for the lower level, transaction processing system. Then we have the MIS, which is for the management level, middle level, functional managers. And then we have the topmost level, which is the executive support system. Now, these are the three levels of information system which exist. Beyond that, there is coordination. There are four functional areas which exist in an organization. They are the finance, the marketing, and production, and also human resource. Now, there is coordination between people of finance. There is coordination between people of marketing, coordination between people who belong to HR also. So they are well coordinated when it is a conversation or a communication between the functional areas. But across the functional areas, there could be no communication, say of marketing with finance, finance with HR. So ultimately, we might result in what we call disjointed information systems or information islands. So they'll break up into small islands of information, wherein the levels at the different levels also they coordinate with only people of their own area. So this results in what we call information islands or what we call disjointed information system. So accounts and finance may have very developed systems that serve their own needs very well, but it's not integrated with manufacturing or production. Manufacturing in itself is doing well with no coordination with maybe marketing. And this is a kind of often we quote an example wherein a salesman, he's in the market and he sells his products not to individual customers but to institutional customers. When we say institutional customers, like say for instance a hospital or a hotel, where the requirement for a product is not in terms of items, small items, it's a huge amount, it's a huge quantity that they produce, that they buy. So when they interact with the institutional customers, he came back by convincing them to purchase more without having, and he came back feeling very high, very victorious. But when he communicated this information to say the production people, they were agog because production was already working round the clock and at full capacity of production, and this increased volume, increased demand would mean that they'll have to produce more at an extra cost. So they'll have to give overtime and maybe additional hours of work which have to be incorporated. So with overtime or extra workload, would they be able to satisfy this demand? This kind of a situation comes about when there is no information that the marketing has about what is happening in the manufacturing setup, or manufacturing would go on producing goods which actually is not selling. So this kind of a situation will not come if we have an integrated system. If manufacturing is open to what marketing is, what is happening in the market, what is in demand is communicated back to manufacturing. So there's a coordination between the various functional areas. So like we said, sales and marketing information system are doing very well, but they do not have any information from other systems that would have helped them do a better job. So if they had more integration, they would have been doing a better job. Like I said, manufacturing is blind to what is happening in the market, and they're producing goods which actually would not sell when it goes to the market. Or marketing is trying to push sales, not knowing that manufacturing is working round the clock, and beyond this, they can produce only at a higher cost. So this happens when we have no integration within the organization. This happens when we have disjointed information systems. This happens when we have information islands existing in an organization. So it is a situation wherein it does not give a very coherent picture of the entire organization. Therefore, functions must be integrated along traditional lines of demarcation. Data also must be shared across all departments. Data must be shared across every functional area. Data must be shared across every department. Data must be shared across every functional area. Data must be shared across every department. Data must be shared across every functional area. Data must be shared across every department. Data must be shared across every functional area. Data must be shared across every department. Data must be shared across every functional area. Data must be shared across every department. Data must be shared across every functional area. Data must be shared across every department. Data must be shared across every functional area. Data must be shared across every department. Data must be shared across every functional area. Data must be shared across every department. Data must be shared across every functional area. Data must be shared across every department. Data must be shared across every functional area. Data must be shared across every department. Data must be shared across every functional area. Data must be shared across every department. Data must be shared across every functional area. Data must be shared across every department
Ma'am, you're not audible.
and also customer relationship management systems. So
Yeah,
let us,
excuse me, ma'am.
Excuse me,
But
ma'am, you were not audible for some
yes,
time.
yes,
Ma'am, there was some sort of breakage in your voice. Ma'am, there was
okay.
some sort of
Uh,
breakage. Yes, ma'am.
okay, I'm just going over what I have done, discussed so far. We talked about the concept of disjointed information system, which means within itself, there are pools of systems which work very well, coordinating within themselves, but not coordinating with the other systems. Like we might have marketing information system, which pools data about what is happening in the market, but they do not have an interaction with what the manufacturing system does. What the manufacturing system does. So this is a kind of what we call a disjointed information system, where wherein we have coordination very well within the own system, like accounts and finance. They have a system which serves their own needs, but they do not know what is actually happening in production or marketing or in manufacturing. So this is a situation which should not take place. So it gives, when say for instance we talked about the three levels. We have transaction processing system, management information system, and finally the executive support system. So when we classify according to levels, we have three levels of information system: and production information system, manufacturing information system. So within itself, they work very well, but they have no coordination with what is happening in the other functional area. So if this happens, it will result in what we call information islands, what we call disjointed information system. Like we gave the example, manufacturing goes on producing without having idea as to what actually is selling in the market. If this happens, we will have a lot of stock of finished goods which actually will not sell. And maybe we'll have to resort to discounts and repeated discounts in order to push them off the shelf. Similarly, could be a situation which I just told you, shared with you, that salesman who is into institutional sales, who is selling to maybe hotel or a hospital. They come back feeling very happy that okay, they were able to increase the volume of sales. But when they come back, it is a manufacturing feat. It's a marketing feat for them. But when they come back, they come to know that the manufacturing is already working round the clock and they cannot produce more than this. In order to increase the production capacity, they'll have to work on overtime, and therefore there is going to be increased cost at which they can meet the increased demand. So this is a situation when the marketing people do not know what is happening at the manufacturing sector. So we need a coordination between them. So what was a marketing feat became a manufacturing defeat. What was victory for the marketing people, which became a painful situation for the production people. And ultimately the organization suffers, because to meet the increased demand, you have to work round the clock, you have to give overtime, there's going to be increased cost of production. So it is very necessary that we have more coordination all across the organization. And disjointed information system should not exist. Information islands should not exist. And this is a situation when we do not give a coherent picture of the entire organization. Therefore, functions must be integrated along traditional lines of demarcation. Data must be shared across the departments. Data must be shared across the entire organization, which has given rise to what we call enterprise applications. There are three kinds of enterprise applications that we will discuss. Today, we will focus on enterprise resource planning system. In the subsequent class, we will take up supply chain management system and customer relationship management systems, what they are and what benefit do they get for an organization. So today we will focus on enterprise resource planning system. In the subsequent class, we will discuss customer relationship management system and supply chain management systems. Now, what are enterprise resource planning systems? In short, we call them ERPs. They are basically used to bridge the communication gap between all departments and all users of
Excuse me,
information
ma'am.
within a
Ma'am, sorry
company.
to interrupt. Ma'am, did you change the slide?
Can you see?
Ma'am, we can see systems for linking enterprise.
I'm changing the slides. Is it not
No, ma'am,
viewable?
it's not.
No, ma'am, visible. Only the first slide is visible.
Ma'am, now it's now,
And
ma'am. Yes, ma'am, we got it. We got it. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I'm showing you the first slide which says Enterprise Resource Planning System,
Ma'am, now
which
it's
yeah,
is
ma'am,
visible.
it's visible, ma'am.
Now it's visible.
okay. So this is a system which is used to bridge the communication gap between all departments and all users of information within a company. So if production department enters the data about a process, this data is available to human resource. If human resource enters the data, it would be viewable to the sales and sales department as well. So if sales and market is planning a new advertising campaign, anyone within the organization would have access to that information. So this is what an enterprise resource planning system does. So any information which is fed in by anybody is known across, is shared across the department. We give an example that already we are making a huge advertising campaign. We are spending money on that. Then this data is available to HR also. It is available to production. This is what we mean by information needs to be shared across the organization. So they are systems which are used to bridge the communication gap between all departments and all users of information within a company. If production enters the data about its process, it is available to sales and also to HR. If sales and marketing is planning a new advertising campaign, anyone within the organization would have access to that information. So we see information as a very vital resource and should enable us to decrease costs all across the organization. So they are now. What is an ERP? ERP system is a set of programs which that manage the vital business operations for an entire, even multi-site global organization. So it's not a domestic organization which is at a plant at one site, but it could be a plant which is a company which has multiple sites, not only within India but across the borders, which therefore needs to support many legal entities because you're working across the borders, many languages, and many different currencies. So they are a set of integrated programs. Why we call them a set of integrated programs? Say, for instance, inventory has a program for maintaining and updating inventory. Then that is accessible to others. So inventory would have one set of program. Finance would have one set of program for sanctioning loan for credit analysis. Production would have one set of program which will schedule the production process. So all these small programs which is managing, say, purchase order. When we are purchasing raw material, we know how it operates. When it reaches a certain level, then automatically a purchase is initiated. So these are all smaller programs, but they need to be integrated. So they are small subsets, we can say, small programs, but they need to be integrated all across the organization. So information is a vital resource and it should enable to decrease cost all through the organization. So ERP systems enable to do so. Simple words, layman's terms, what is an ERP system? There are a set of integrated programs. There are small programs, say purchase order, inventory maintenance, then credit analysis. They're all small programs which is managing a certain module of your organization. But all these small programs need to be integrated across the organization. Now, your organization could be one company having one site, one location at one location, or it could be having across multiple sites within India and all across the globe as well. And therefore, it should need to support many legal entities, many languages, and many currencies. Now, ERP systems, what they do is the small programs, it will replace all the many different applications you had into one large set of programs. So all the smaller programs we have, they are integrated to form a large program, making the system easier to use and more effective. But the scope of ERP systems could vary from company to company. Some of them will have certain modules, say finance and purchase modules, and not integrate the rest of the organization. Some of might have HR, purchase, and say finance module, and not take up the other modules. So the scope would depend from company to company. It would vary. It will vary across from company to company. Now, most ERP systems provide integrated software to support manufacturing and finance. So, these are the parts which are integrated. Many may have purchase, customer service, HR, sales, and even distribution as a subsystem. Now, it is central to an organization. It ensures that information is shared across all business functions. It ensures that it is shared across all levels that we talked about, the TPS or MIS or ESS, or all functional areas like finance information system, marketing information system, HR information system. The best part is it passes information throughout the organization. Now let us see. So what? How do we define ERP? ERP is a set of integrated programs. So there are many smaller programs. They are now culminated into one large program for the organization, which cuts across levels, which cuts across functional boundaries. Now, what are the advantages? There are many advantages. We have just highlighting on a major few. One is it leads to quality decisions and quicker decisions because you don't have to wait. It is integrated across. Any information can be elicited at any point of time. It provides improved access to data for operational decision making. It brings about what we call enterprise agility because it does away with the departmental silos that we talked of earlier, where the functional areas are working within themselves, but they do not have any interaction with marketing or sales. It leads to improved work processes. There is technology standardization all across. So we had different technology work looking after different functional areas, but now we have the a standard technology which is used all across the organization. Then these are the advantages. That is, we have organization agility. We have quicker decisions, more quality decisions, easier to track any information, extract any information. However, it is also beset with many disadvantages because of which many a time people do not want to take up the system. Installation of the system is so invasive, it takes tremendous time to install. So it is a time consuming process. So people often want to ward off, okay, let's do without it only. The normal system is functional, it is good enough. There is a need to train people. So you need to have a new method of operating. So therefore, you need to train people. We need to rework the business process. So every process, whether it's inventory management, whether it's purchase order, whether it is loan sanctioning, how are you sanctioning loan, on what basis? All these processes need to be reviewed, and many a time they need to be changed. So we need to review every process which is going in the organization, the training process that we have for our employees, or inventory management process, inventory control process, purchase order process, loan sanctioning process, whatever the processes are, we need to review them and we need to maybe rework on them. So it's very time consuming, it's a lot of work, there is a lot of cost also involved, cost and time is a big factor for implementation. Then other difficulties is difficulty in implementing change, difficulty in integrating with other systems. So already there are certain system existing. Is it compatible with the existing system? Maybe not. So there's another burden on us. Then you need to hire services of some company in order to install the ERP. So if you rely on the vendor, you need to share information with them. So there is risk in using a certain vendor. So vendor who is installing the information system, he knows he has to be he'll be a party to your organization. He has to know every in and out of the organization and how the company works. Then there is resistance to acceptance of the new technology. The people do not want to accept. That's a big a problem. Apart from cost in implementation, apart from time, apart from dependence risk of depending on a vendor, the major difficulty internal to the organization is the resistance to accept a new technology. So there is a resistance to change. So that is a big issue that comes about with ERP implementation. Then there is difficulty in loading data into the ERP system. When we talk of loading data, there are three things which take place. One is data mapping, the other is data cleanup, and the third is actually loading the data. Now, data mapping means you examine each data item required for the new system. Now, which file this data would come from? When there is no ARP, everybody is maintaining record. Let's say, for instance, we take instance of a bank. You go to open an account in a bank. I have a savings bank account. Then I open a after say 6 months, I open a FD account, fixed deposit account. Then maybe some other time I require loan. I take up a loan from the same bank, say SBI. So if it is not integrated, every time I'll be seen as a new customer. And say 10 years back, I had a savings account. So it has my details entered there. So my address, I'm given an account number. There is no integration. So when I open a fixed deposit account, I'm seen as yet another customer, and my all my details are entered again. Similarly, say 3 months later, I take a loan. I'm seen as a new customer. So when ERP implementation takes place, where my record is placed, my data is entered at three different places. Now, should they rely on? So this is what we mean by data mapping, right? So I have a savings account. In my savings account, I opened an account 10 years back, and my details are all recorded: my address, my account number, etc., and how much money I have in that account, etc. Then I opened a FD account, say for 5 years or 3 years, fixed deposit for 3 years. So again, my data is entered again. Today, I decide on taking a loan. I'm seen as a third different customer. So I'm the same customer, but my details get entered thrice. Now, in data mapping, now when we move into ERP implementation, my record will be maintained only once at one place, which is accessible by everybody by my account number. In data mapping, when we need to map the data, which should I consider to be correct? The one entered as a savings bank account, or the one entered when I took a loan, or the one which was entered when I opened a fixed deposit. So this is what we mean by mining. We need to examine each data item required for the system, and there's a confusion as to which file my data would come from. Second stage is what we call data cleanup. And the old system may have some accurate data, or they might have some incomplete data, inconsistent data, because my information has been entered multiple times. So that's data cleanup. You have to, so then somebody might have entered what we call an erroneous data. So my information might have been entered wrongly at one place. And data loading means every data item that is there, say customer information, this is performed by using a data conversion software. So we convert, and it converts the old data into the new format. So data conversion software reads the old data and converts it into new format for loading into the new system. So it is performed by using data conversion software. Data conversion software reads the old data and whatever, and puts it in the format in the new system. Now, what I mean by format is, say in the old format, my name was maintained as my name being Salma Ahmed. So we say name and we give a 30 spaces. So it was written as Salma space and then Ahmed. Uh, so we don't have a breakup of the name. But maybe when we load it into the new system, we have a format which says first name, middle name, last name. So my name would be entered not as Salma Ahmed or Salma Yasin Ahmed. It would, in the first name, be entered as Salma, in the middle name as Yasin, in the third name as Ahmed. So this is what we mean by conversion. The old data now has to be converted, put it in the new format, and that is done by a conversion software. So these are other problems that comes, which is of data mapping, data cleanup, and data loading. However, despite the disadvantages, yet we go for an system because because of the many benefits that ERP provides, that of integration all across the information organization, quicker decisions, quality decisions, improved access to data, removal of departmental silos, improved work processes, and technology standardization. So that was ERP implementation. Now I can just go over it. We began with problems of having a disjointed information system, problems of having information silos, and these take place when either the functional areas they are doing very well, they are coordinated within themselves. The finance information system, they work very well within its own system. Marketing information system work very well within itself, but they have no integration or relationship with manufacturing. Manufacturing has no purview of what is happening in the marketing. Similarly, there could be departmental silo, 3 levels created where the transaction processing system do not have much interaction with MIS with ESS. So this will result in what we call disjointed information system or information silos, and they need to be done away with. And this is possible by ERP implementation, enterprise applications. There are 3 kinds of enterprise applications that we will discuss: enterprise resource planning system, then customer relationship management system, and supply chain management system. In customer enterprise resource planning system, it does away with the departmental silos, and what we call ERP system is a large integrated program wherein the smaller programs, say for purchase, say for training of HR, say for purchase, training of HR, say for um, what say for inventory management, they're all integrated into one large program. Therefore we call it a integrated it's a set of integrated programs now, which will give a very coherent picture of the organization. So here information we see is a very vital resource which should be shared all across the organization. And the basic benefits is it leads to quicker data, quicker decision making, quality decision making. It leads to information agility. Work processes are improved. But however, there are many demerits or problems which are associated, and installation of the system is so pervasive. It's very time consuming, very problematic. So many of them decide not to have it. So it is time consuming, it involves a lot of cost. We need to train our people for usage of the new system. We need to share information with the vendor who is going to install the ERP system for us. Then there is a difficulty in loading data. There's a problem of data mapping. There's a problem of data cleanup. We don't know which, because some of the data might be erroneously entered. So they might be inaccurate data. And there's a problem of loading the data. You have to convert it from the old format to the new format. We need to review every process which is taking place in the organization and maybe rework the process. And the most difficult part of ERP implementation is resistance to change, or any technology implementation is a resistance to change. So students, we are over with the context on enterprise resource planning systems. We have discussed what it is, what are the benefits, and what are the problems that we face or the disadvantages of implementation of the system. Now, any query before we wind up with the class? Students, if no query, we can wind up with the class
Yes,
now.
ma'am. Sure.
Okay,
Sure,
thank
ma'am.
you
No
so much.
problem.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.